please give a warm welcome to Austin Kolodney, first-time debut writer and director, Gus Van Sant.
Thank you.
And everybody, I want to point out that this is the 40th anniversary of Gus Van Sant as a filmmaker.
Wow.
Which is...
Today?
Not today, but this year is your 40th anniversary as a filmmaker.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing. And we've been so lucky for the past 40 years that you've been in our world.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I want to ask you about the look of this film. You and your DP, Arnaud Poitier, and you use Ikegami video cameras. Tell us about that approach. And there were so many cameras used in this film.
We were first debating whether to shoot in film. We ended up using a Sony digital camera instead of, say, 16 or 35. But Arnaud had worked on a film with Harmony Korine, and he was very camera-oriented. And so we decided, because of our short shooting schedule, to shoot in video.
19 days.
Yeah. And the look, I personally wanted, as we approached, the day of the first day of shooting, I wanted to let Arnaud just go for it. I had worked on a commercial with him before, and he had done some really well-known pieces and that I'd seen before, and I just wanted him to go and shoot whatever we blocked, that he would just shoot it however he wanted. That was the original idea. And then I couldn't resist but step in halfway through, and just help
in
decide.
this film you show archival footage, including in the closing credits. Did that Ikegami video shooting match that archival footage?
Yeah, the archival footage, especially at the very end, was something color-wise that we really liked. And Arnaud figured out a place that refurbished old 70s Ikegami cameras, and we used them mostly for the areas where there were actually press cameras. They were shooting with these old cameras.
And you mentioned color. Normally when we see a film that takes place in the 70s, we're used to seeing this murky, brownish palette. Instead, you use this bright colors.
Yeah, I mean, I think I felt the same way. I was used to watching 70s period set films using purples and browns.
Yeah.
And I was able to sort of pull a bunch of William Eggleston still pictures from the same area of the Midwest, who was shooting in the same period, but was always very bright colors, just so that we didn't dip into just browns.
And what was it what compelled you to go for the brighter colors?
Just, I think mostly so we didn't fall into that category where people were using a lot of mauves and dark pinks and
Correct.
Browns.
Yeah. Austin, your first screenplay, correct? I mean, you've done a lot of shorts prior to this. In particular, I was fascinated about the fact that you focus solely on him capturing him. You don't follow with the procedural and afterwards the court, et cetera. Tell us about that your focus on the kidnapping.
Yeah, I think when I first saw archival footage of Tony and Richard, I was drawn to these characters. It was the character of Tony and his vocal cadence and the height of his emotions and the absurdity of this crime is what drew me to it. And to me, by nature of it being like a 3-day hostage scenario, that was the blueprint. As a 3-act structure in a screenplay, like it's try and keep it as high pressure, boiler room, like you said, like not see the multiple months of procedural or the biopic version where we see Tony as a kid and then taking out the mortgage on the land. Like I wanted to open like the moment Tony arrived at Meridian Mortgage with the box, with the shotgun and his pistol. Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about the script is that Tony and Richard, the complexity of their relationship as the movie progresses is like, it's not black and white on either Tony or Richard. Can you tell us about developing that?
Yeah, I think Tony's such a lightning rod. Like he's such a charismatic, volatile figure that was like clearly the first inspiration for me. And I was telling Gus, like the early drafts of the script was called Tony Kuritzis. Like that was the movie that I was setting out to make. But then in doing my research and in living in the room with these two men while writing it, I wrote this largely in like 2020 during the pandemic. So I was like in some ways like confined with these gentlemen during this crime in my house during quarantine, and finding ways to pepper in my own worldview and my understanding of, I mean, obviously I wasn't around in 1977 in Indianapolis, but I felt a certain way about the economy in 2020 and my place in the system, and approaching it from the interest in Tony was, a place with a chip on your shoulder about like maybe an economic system that doesn't work for everyone, but then spending time with these two guys and having these human moments between them, it's finding the empathy for Richard in a profound way. And I think ideally, what the goal of the movie and what Gus has done is the magic trick is if you go in maybe with a preconceived notion of who to root for into our film, you come out of it with a little more empathy and understanding for the other man on the other end of the
But did
shotgun.
you always understand the immediacy of the dynamic, the fact that it's speaking about today? There's a lot of, working class people, and well, all different classes feel like they're being left out and they're angry, and your film speaks about that.
Yeah, I mean, history is cyclical, and I was feeling it in 2020. I felt it, as a kid in '08, and there was a financial crisis. Like these things happen where there's this kind of populism and this rage towards a system that they feel is unjust. But I couldn't have predicted how prescient it would be today in 2025 and everything. But I did know that it was a movie that I wanted to write and see and get in the hands of a prolific filmmaker, because these are the types of movies that I grew up watching and wanting to see.
Mm-hmm. Gus, when I watched the film, the sequence of the hostage, when they're in the car and the police, it's breathtaking. It's such an amazing sequence. How difficult was it to capture that sequence?
When he was being led to the car, and
the standoff, and between when they're in the car and the police shows up, and
you mean when they first arrive at the apartment building?
No.
At the end.
When they're going towards the apartment and the police.
Yeah. Well, all the scenes pretty much were very quickly done. So the nighttime ending part was something that I think we were working in that location long enough to see how lights kind of were like shining in your face, and the way that they could play in the film. And Arnaud was pretty much in his element.
And why was it important for you to shoot quickly?
Really, just the 19 days. Like we had to.
Yeah, but why? I know for a fact that you were offered extra days, and you wanted to shoot.
No, we weren't offered extra days. No.
You were not.
That's news to me.
Okay.
I've not heard that, Roger.
Okay.
No, but at the same time, I think when you're going fast, there's some great things about decisions are just made quickly, and you're just it's first thought, best thought.
Music is such a vital aspect of your film, and in the music you choose are not well-known music. You know, you use Harper Bazaar, etc. You know, tell us about that choice.
I think that the edit went very quickly, but the music, we had time to really like work on it, and I kept just trying to perfect it. It was the one thing that I was like sort of on top of that particular side of it. The edit less so, but the musical pieces that were going on top of the image, and Harper's Bazaar was the song itself. Wichita Toe was just a favorite. They're all my favorites from like the 70s and 60s.
Austin, there's so much humor in the film. Like when when Tony gets in the cop car and he cannot. Sirens, he doesn't know how to function it. Are those things that you added, or they were all along in the...
That siren beat, I believe I constructed. I don't know if there was particularly evidence of that moment. But, I mean, and just in general, almost all of the calls with Fred and most of that final press conference, for the most part, I tried to summarize and amalgamate Tony's actual words. I think Tony had this vocal cadence and a speech pattern and his vocabulary that when watching the archival footage, I thought, how has this not been made into a movie? He's talking like a movie character here. And some of his jokes, whether they land or not to the cops in this situation, are just that, they're jokes. It's almost like he's holding like a little stand-up comedy routine at moments in that final press conference amidst the true danger and the stakes. And I always did want to mine that dark comedy and the tightrope walk of any, like, to me, any great like thriller that has the ability to ratchet up the tension with the stakes and the drama, but then also relieve that tension a little bit with like a real gallows humor joke.
And Al Pacino's in the film, and we immediately think about Dog Day Afternoon. Was that an influence for you in the writing?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't wear my influences on my sleeve. I think I had read like the Pearson draft of Dog Day that had like Lumet's notes in the margins, and seeing like on the second page of that script, you have a blueprint of the bank vault. And in early drafts of when this started going out, I stole from that. I used the blueprint of Tony's apartment, and I mean that's a perfect. Dog Day is a perfect movie. So yeah, it was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid that my mom showed me, and never in a million of years would I have thought Al Pacino would be in a movie that I wrote, let alone the first one. But when you have a director like Gus Van Sant, the moths of talent attract the flame of a great director. So yeah, it's pretty cool that we got Mr. Pacino in this movie.
Speaking of Al Pacino, the phone call that he does, was that always on the script? And tell us about writing that scene.
Well, you might be able to illuminate it a little more. In the first draft, it was only just Richard and ML speaking. And one of your early conversations with Al, when he was circling the project, you had said that he wanted Tony and ML to talk. So maybe you could speak a little bit more about like how
Al's part of it.
I'm sorry?
Al's phone call.
Correct. Yeah.
Like specifically him and Tony talking was your note to me.
Yeah, it was originally that Tony didn't get to talk to ML, and in speaking to Al, I don't know if this was a normal procedure for Al. He thought there could be more, and I wasn't sure what he meant by more. So I just thought, well, just like have him talk to Tony, and so we put some extra stuff in the conversation.
But kind of, I mean, speaking to how you worked with Arnaud, of like, hey, I trust, like, show me what you got. You were not like hyper prescriptive and cracking like, hey, like I need ML to say that. You really left me to my own devices. You left it as open ended. I remember you asked me, you're like, hey, have you seen Network? I was like,
yeah.
Yes, yes, sir. I've seen Patty Chayefsky and Cindy Lumet, and you're like, yeah, you remember that boardroom scene, like the Ned Beatty boardroom scene?
Yeah, to have something that was like leading to a pinnacle.
Yeah, and he just said, yeah, make it more like Network. Which is a horrifying thing to hear as like a first-time filmmaker from one of your favorite filmmakers. And I don't know if I achieved that, but it was good because it left me to like, all right, how do I put my thinking cap on? So I read like Al Pacino's memoir, Sonny Boy, had just come out. Everyone should go pick it up. It's got some fantastic stories. So I read his memoir. I read an interview series. So I tried to infuse the performer's voice into the character ML as much as possible, so that he could make it more of himself. And yeah, whether Al realizes it or not, I've sprinkled in a couple turns of phrases that Al had used in some interviews into his like no Tony, no, you don't shake the tree, like the fruit falls off when it's ready. Like that's Al said that, and I stole that from Al, whether he realizes it or not.
Did he point out to you like, this sounds familiar?
I tried to be. I wanted to be on set for all. I was on set for all of this, but I never wanted to be in the peanut gallery by Video Village and like hover around. Like I tried to stay out of everyone's eye line and just kind of. I listened with a Comtech around the corner. So I don't know if he ever picked up on it. That would be a question for Gus, but.
Gus, why did you cast Tony and Richard younger than the main characters?
I think the characters were in their mid-40s, and I just had been trying to cast Bill Skarsgård in something, and he was a little different in age. So also Richard needed to be a little younger. So it was mostly just trying to work with Bill.
Okay, well, it works beautifully. The score. Danny Elfman does the score, but I couldn't help but think of Jerry Goldsmith scores, Patton and the 70s scores. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Goldsmith was somebody that I was using as a temp score, and Danny Elfman, I didn't know this, but he was sort of like an student of Goldsmith, not directly, but like looked up to him, and so he was helping to emulate that sound.
Austin, the police in this film, it came to me as a shock that how they come across as there's so much empathy in them. We're not used to seeing cops that are so balanced. Is that something that
Wouldn't it be nice though?
But is that
Wouldn't it be
something?
nice if cops had some cool heads prevailing and negotiated? That'd be nice.
I mean,
I think
period
so.
of time in the 70s, people hadn't been militarized, and they were a lot more
So
cool
that
heads.
it was more authentic to the 70s, not as something that you.
I mean, the crime played out on screen largely how it happened. No one got trigger happy. No one attempted to wrestle the gun away from Tony. They negotiated with him. They brought the FBI in. They let Fred talk to him. Mike Grable on the scene that recognized Tony did know Tony. Tony was known within circles of cops. There was like a small town familiarity to it. It wasn't this like, oh, the cops drive in from an hour out of town and wear these SWAT outfits and are these like, anonymous figures. These are guys who have like wives and families and go to the same bar as some of these people that are in like Tony. And that largely played out as Frank Love was actually a friend of the Kritz's family. And that is from the research, and that wasn't necessarily me trying to alter history and sprinkle my own politics. It just genuinely did play out in that fashion.
The DJ, I'm a huge The Warriors fan, and you're both are smiling. You were influenced by the DJ from The Warriors?
Well, the first shot in the film is Arnaud, our DP, was referencing The Warriors. He said, "Did you ever see this film?" And I had seen it, and I vaguely remembered this side shot very close.
Yeah.
So literally, our first shot was from The Warriors.
Austin, is that something that you?
I mean, I love the Warriors. But I will say the first draft of the script was more to the real guy's name was Fred Heckman. He was a little more. They called him the Walter Cronkite of Indianapolis. And he was a little more cut and dry. But then Cassian and Gus had an opportunity in speaking with Coleman who was potentially available and interested in this. And it was at one point in time, early days of outlining, I thought maybe that would be a role that you could alter history and make it more of like a shock jock, or like what Fred Temple ended up being, like more of like a smooth talking radio host like the Warriors. But when you put the opportunity in front of all of us to cast Coleman, that's when it made sense to tailor the voice into someone that's less like a cut and dry news reporter and more a DJ.
Yeah, I was trying to fashion him as a WNEW DJ in New York named Roscoe, if anyone remembers Roscoe.
Yeah.
It was kind of my DJ
Yeah.
that I grew up with.
And you cast Coleman with 8 days to shoot, correct?
8 days, 2 days. For
2 days?
For Coleman, yeah.
Well, shut my mouth. Yeah. How did that?
He was a busy guy. Still is.
And then he just jumped right in.
Yeah. Oh, he jumped right in, and he also brought, I thought, right from the moment he started playing it, this hesitancy that he had to like be wary. He was very wary of Tony, without letting Tony know. We could see his face, but he was trying to placate Tony, but at the same time he wasn't sure he wanted to be on this ride, which was something that Coleman brought, I think, to the character.
Austin, the script has this combination of bizarre and playful tone. You know, can you tell us about that aspect? I mean, the whole thing is like, it happened, but it still feels surreal. And then there is, you know, I mentioned earlier, the humor. There's a playful aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, and being drawn to the archival footage, like Tony cracking these jokes and saying, "And I like policemen," and pointing a gun at them, and then slipping on the ice and asking for a sip of water while holding a gun during a press conference and like sipping it like a baby bird is like how I wrote it. Like he sips it like a baby bird is absurd imagery, and at times, to me, darkly comedic. And yeah, I think I was talking to Stuart, like I come from that background. I used to work with Funny or Die and Comedy Central and Almost Friday TV, and I had a short that played here in Santa Barbara called Two Chairs Not One.
When I introduced the film, I mentioned that your short premiered here.
Yeah, I love this festival, and I think anything I work on will have at times like a darkly comedic vein, so maybe some more overtly and broad, but then other things like this is, I think, a capital D drama or at least a thriller, but it has a darkly comedic element to it that I always found in the character of Tony, and then in the supporting cast around him and how they react to him. It has that kind of like, that Coen Brothers Fargo as like the absurdity of a crime spiraling out of control in a small town was definitely something that I was trying to draw from.
Mm-hmm. And Gus, what was it about his script that drew you in?
I think when I was first reading it and got to the early scene where Tony's abducting Richard, there was a internet address right in the screenplay itself. That my screenplay was a digital copy. That if you clicked on it, it took you to the real Tony, like demanding, like these things from the cops and like telling them what he was doing. And it was a 45-minute rant where he was telling jokes at the same time he's asking personal questions to the cops on the other side of the line, and it was just like a remarkable moment. So I just thought, I'm in.
Yeah, I included those links because it's like if this was purely fictional, if it wasn't based on a true story, and I wrote some of the things, like they commandeer a police vehicle, like some of these things that happen, you would go, I don't know if it would play out that way. So I purposefully included time-stamped URLs to the, like, when they're getting distracted and a car hits a light pole or snowbank nearby, like you almost want to say like, oh, he's spicing it up with some elements. Like, no, that happened, and I think I peppered the draft with some of those links, and I think that did help visualize the movie for people.
There is one beautiful moment in the film. Gus, that you include Kelly Lynch. The wife of Al Pacino is played by Kelly Lynch, and immediately brought me to your history and your films. Tell us about casting Kelly in that pivotal moment.
Yeah, Kelly, who had been in Drugstore Cowboy,
Yeah,
this great role that she played, and
extremely memorable.
and we were trying to think of somebody to play Al's wife. We suggested Colleen Camp, and Al said, no, not Colleen Camp. And then Cassian came up with the idea of Kelly Lynch, and she's my neighbor in LA. So I said, well, yeah, that would be amazing if she could do it. And so she said yes.
Yeah.
And it ties into the Gus cinematic universe too. We had John Robinson played the news camera video operator that worked with Mahalo, John from Elephant. And yeah, it's cool to.
How did Carrie Ewells, right? Elvis, yeah, Carrie Elvis come about being cast. I watched half the film, and I was like, who is this actor? And then eventually I was like, oh my God, it's Princess Bride, it's Carrie. How did it come about casting him?
He used somebody that Cassian Elway's, his brother, suggested, and I think they had already been talking.
Nepo Baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's brilliant in this. And I was
He's
like,
a chameleon. Like my mom did it when she saw it in Toronto. She was like, "That was Carrie Hoy," because he was there with clean shaven blonde. My mom was like, "He does that looks like a completely different human being."
no, it took me halfway through the film for me to go oh my God, who is this actor?
And he committed. He flew out to Indianapolis and met with the Grable family and got to go over home videos with them. And they came to Toronto, and it was really sweet to get to talk to them. And I think they're very, very proud of the portrayal of their father in this film, and it's really special. Yeah, he really dove into this. And Cassian has talked about this as well. That Carrie lost his home in the Palisades fire, like roughly 3 or 5 days prior to flying to Louisville to make this movie. He lost everything, and he threw himself into this role and was on set every day, even days that he wasn't called for scenes. He was just a part. Like everyone adored Carrie on this set, which was really special.
That's pretty. And Gus, this was shot in Louisville, Kentucky, which is your hometown. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Wasn't my hometown. My hometown of both sides of my family was in Mayfield, Kentucky, like 3 hours west. So I didn't know Louisville very, very much, but some of the crew were from Mayfield. They'd relocated into Louisville, but it was great to I had been to the Kentucky Derby a few times, but I got
You're a colonel, aren't you?
And I'm a Kentucky colonel, technically. Yes.
They bestow a colonelship on esteemed alumni of the state, and you are one, I guess.
Yeah, it's just something that your family can, apply for and give you as a 16-year-old for doing something great.
And tell us about taking over. You guys took over the Courier Journal building and transform it into the apartment. You transform it into the different locations for the film.
Yeah, the Courier Journal building is like an amazing newspaper, like a left-leaning, left-friendly newspaper in the heart of the South, and where Hunter Thompson worked for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And was a great location. It's vacant, and it was for rent or for sale.
Mm-hmm.
I think why it also worked, what I learned being there on set, I also got, my friend Sidney Marquez was a set decorator, so I was an art PA when I wasn't doing rewrites. I got to be like an art PA on the movie, like moving furniture and packing cube trucks. And what I learned about the Courier, because they had the machinery to print all those newspapers, it was very loud machinery. So they had to soundproof the building so that the neighbors of the Courier Journal couldn't complain about how loud these machines were. So now, ipso facto, like a hermit crab like taking over a different shell. Now that they aren't printing as many newspapers, it became a perfect place for a sound stage in a way, and that sound couldn't then bleed in to the scenes we were shooting in this place, which is kind of interesting.
And Austin, I pride myself of having a photographic memory, and if I recall correctly, you told me when you were here for your short that you were a zookeeper, that you worked for a zoo, and
Not a zookeeper. I'm not a zoo. There was never a zookeeper. You need a degree in like animal stuff to be a zookeeper. I not during Two Chairs, but last year, from like January of like 2024 till January of this calendar year, technically, I put in my like 3 weeks notice once my flights were booked for Louisville. I worked at the LA Zoo as a special projects assistant 2 is the formal title, which is it's a custodian. So I worked as a custodian.
and
at the
this
LA
is a
Zoo.
stepping stone to screenwriting and making a film with Gossip and Sant.
I think so. I mean, Werner Herzog has advice. He says to any young filmmaker, don't go work a clerical job like in an office 9 to 5. Go be a bouncer at like a Berlin sex club, or go be a janitor. And I think it was good to, I don't know, do manual labor. I would like clean the glass of the gorilla exhibit and listen to like a William Friedkin autobiography, and like it was very therapeutic, and I got to turn my brain off and do manual labor 4 days a week, so that the other aspects of the week I could do rewrites on this script and direct sketch comedy and keep the filmmaking dream alive a little longer.
So whenever you have an up-and-coming screenwriter, you tell them, go out there and work at a zoo.
Or just get any. I mean, Lyft. I used to be a Lyft driver. Like, I don't know, do whatever. Be a barista. Do whatever you got to do to pay the bills. As long as you could keep your passion and your priority as filmmaking. Do whatever, I guess, part-time work you need to cover rent. And don't be ashamed of it. And to be good. When I was at the zoo, I was good. I was a good custodian. I was pretty good.
Awesome. Well, Gus, happy 40th as a filmmaker.
Thank you.
What a joy to have you here, and thank you for all you've done for us, and congrats on this film. And Austin, likewise, thank you for being
I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, Gus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.